Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a comparison of two concealers from Giorgio Armani. One of which is something that I have been using non-stop, dare I say, holy grail status. I have repurchased this, I wear it to death. Ever since it came out, I have just been absolutely in love with it, and it is the Power Fabric Concealer. I feel like this does everything I need. It has the perfect amount of coverage, not too much, not too little. It has a satin finish, so it's not too luminous, but it's not matte either. It's just so good. And I feel like it looks natural. But again, it still offers coverage. There's just something about this that just lays on my skin so beautifully that I'm in love with it. Again, I've repurchased this. I don't see myself not using this anytime soon. However, Giorgio Armani just released the Luminous Silk Concealer. I didn't even know this was coming out until my purchase or pass video, and then somebody the same exact day that I uploaded that said, hey, it's on the Giorgio Armani site, and I overnighted it. I have been testing this. I've had it for a few days now, and I definitely have some thoughts on this, and I thought it would be fun to compare the two because I really don't know if anything can compare to my favorite Power Fabric. However, with that being said, the Luminous Silk Foundation is one of my all-time favorite foundations. This is something that I always have in my collection. I change the colors as I go through the seasons. My lightest shade is shade number 5. That's usually what I wear during the winter. For whatever reason, I have not fully lost my tan. So number 5 is still a little bit light for me currently. But it's so strange. Their numbering system I really wish was a little bit more consistent because it makes it really difficult to figure out what you need to purchase. Let me just show you this. I have 3 different Armani Power Fabric Concealers because I couldn't figure out which shade I needed. And it turns out that shade number 5, which is quite a bit darker than the Luminous Silk Foundation, is what I need for underneath my eyes. But I started off with 3 and then also 4. So I have a lot of comparisons, and I'm going to swatch these for you so you can see what color might work for you in the Luminous Silk. Anywho, getting off track, let's talk about this concealer. I bought it in 2 different shades because, again, I just didn't know what to expect. So I purchased 4.5 and 5. Both of these are described to be light with a neutral undertone. I'm like, well, where do I go? I mean, is one light medium? I just didn't know where to go. And seeing as the number 5 in the Power Fabric is pretty dark, and then it's pretty light in the Luminous Silk Foundation, I just didn't know. So 4.5 and 5 is what I went with. Before I get into the demo and compare the two and give you guys my thoughts, I'm going to give you guys the information. With the Luminous Silk Concealer, you're getting 12 milliliters of product, which is quite a bit of product for a concealer, and it's $38. The description on the website reads, it's a multi-purpose concealer that highlights and conceals while providing 24 hours of hydration and comfort with medium buildable coverage and flawless radiant finish. It's non-creasing, it conceals, corrects, and highlights. Along with the 24 hours of hydration, it also diminishes dark circles and reduces puffiness around the eyes for a flawless second skin-like effect. Soft focus pearls and naturally derived emollients diffuse fine lines for a smooth, even coverage and a lit from within glow. Now, when you compare that to the Power Fabric Concealer, this one is $34, so it is cheaper, but, no, this is a big but, that has, sorry, that made me laugh. I can't laugh without coughing. The Luminous Silk one has 12 milliliters and this one only has 6. I don't know that I ever realized that, or if I just forgot about it, but 6, that is half the amount that you are getting in the Luminous Silk. This one claims to be a high coverage matte concealer that easily blends. It's also non-creasing, it's stretchable, and it's formulated with time-releasing oils to seamlessly glide across the skin for easy blending and long wear result. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the swatches of the colors that I have, starting off with the Power Fabric Concealer in the shades 3, 4, and 5, and then the Luminous Silk Foundation in the shade 5. Right beside the Luminous Silk Foundation, I'm putting the Luminous Silk Concealer, first in 4.5 and then 5. And you can see that 4.5 is definitely a little bit more on the yellow side. I know it says neutral according to the website, but it definitely has a little bit of a yellow undertone to it. Demo time. Now in this clip you're gonna see I just have my foundation on, and I'm gonna start off by applying the Power Fabric Concealer to the right under eye. I'm using the shade number 5. Then on the opposite eye, the left eye, I'm using shade number 5 with the Luminous Silk. And I think you can see straight away that there is a color difference in between these two concealers. When I go to blend them out, you can see that the Power Fabric is definitely just a little bit smoother in my opinion. It is more on the satin side. I don't find this to be matte on me until I set it. I know it claims to be matte, but I don't feel that this is 100% matte concealer. And then on the opposite side, again, it blends out very nicely, but it definitely has more luminosity to it. It does not have the coverage that the Power Fabric has, and I don't find it to be buildable either. So as I have used this through the few days that I have used it, I tried to build this up, and the only way that I can get it to kind of build up on me is if I put a layer of it on, wait and kind of let it set up a bit, and then go in and blend it out, and then add another layer, wait, and then blend it out again. But that's just a whole lot of work, and I don't really like the end result. I'd rather have just the one layer. It's very natural, it's beautiful, and it's definitely more radiant than what the Power Fabric is. Then I'm going in with my BECCA Under Eye Brightening Powder, and I am just taking that and I'm setting underneath my eyes, and I usually go down in the triangle to my pores. Again, you can see that the Power Fabric is a little bit more on the matte side, more coverage, and I still feel like it is more smooth than what it looks like on the opposite side. Now, the opposite side does look brighter, the Luminous Silk, but I think that's more to do with the color. I feel like if I was going to continue to use this concealer, I'm gonna have to go up a shade because this is just a little bit too bright for me. I prefer to have something that matches my skin tone. I don't really do the whole bright under eye thing anymore. I think it looks good, but it's just not something that I particularly go for anymore. But there is a little bit more brightness, and that's just because of the color. The radiance and the luminosity from it, that is from the concealer. I think that the Luminous Silk side looks more natural and radiant. I still think that the Power Fabric side looks natural, but it's a little bit smoother and there is a little bit more coverage there. Before I show you guys the clip of me with my makeup completely done, I want to tell you guys that my under eyes are just a little bit drier than normal, and that's just because I've been sick, coughing, you know, I get those teary eyes, and I actually was going to be doing an all-day wear test this particular day, and I got into a coughing fit, mascara everywhere, tears everywhere, and I was like, all right, whatever, I'm just going to give the review. But my under eye is just a little bit more dry than normal. But I think this is good for those of you that have really dry under eyes to be able to tell if this concealer is going to work for you or not. Something I noticed with this concealer, and it's something that I notice all the time when I use something that is thinner and more radiant, any type of dryness I have underneath my eyes tends to get accentuated after I powder. Now, I don't like to not powder my under eye because I am combo. I tend to get oily in this part of my face. I would rather have everything set and look seamless. If I only set right here, that can darken up the concealer, because if you take something and you change the finish of it, if it's radiant to begin with, like you could take a black paint, right? Put black paint on the wall that's a gloss finish and black paint on the wall that is a matte finish, and they're gonna look like two different colors and not just two different textures. That's what happens with powder as well. It looks like it deepens it up, but it's just setting it down to a matte finish. So if I just set right under here, or if I just set right here, it would look like two different tones. So I don't like to do that. I'd rather just go ahead and set all of this area. I am a powder queen anyway, but as you can see, I did not use a lot of powder, and I also did not bake, so there was no excess powder on my face. Zoomed in, you can see like a trough area right here. Not only does this not cover up like the dark areas on my skin, it just kind of catches on to where I have those dry areas. And again, that just happens with most of the concealers that I use that tend to be a little bit thinner. It's almost like I need to have something on the satin side, even though the Power Fabric is a thinner consistency. The texture of it is so smoothing underneath my eye, and it's just absolute perfection. And that's what I love about it. Even on my driest days, I don't end up looking overly crepey, or it just works really well for me. Another thing I want to mention, this is my fault. I really should have paid attention, but I didn't. The second ingredient in this is cocoa caprylate something. That is something that is derived from coconuts, and coconut oil, coconut derivatives, coconut anything breaks me out, and it did. Again, this is my fault, and not everybody has this problem. I've talked about this before. Coconut oil derivatives, and then cornstarch and Z-maize, stuff like that. It breaks me out, and I got 2 bumps. I actually have them right now. I have 2 little red dots underneath my eye that I had to color correct in order to cover it up. And it made me so mad. It was only on this side because every time I wore it on this side, and this eye is like, oh, I'm fine, and this one's like, oh, I'm gonna break out. But see, laughing. I don't think this is the concealer for me, but I don't think it's a bad concealer either. I want to say that if you have dry under eyes and you don't typically have an issue with the thinner consistencies, and those really do work for you, this definitely stays hydrated. I had 0 issues. I didn't have any crepiness, like where your eye ends up getting really crepey or anything underneath throughout the day. I had no issues with that any of the times that I tried it. The only issue I had was really the breaking out and then that little trough area. And I do need a little bit more coverage for that area. But you can also go in with just a little color corrector if you want to. Also, I think that if I had the right color, if I had something that was a little bit darker, because dark covers dark, then I probably wouldn't have that issue either. I do think this is going to work for those of you that don't want to set your concealer. You do want hydration and you want it to look natural. I do think that this is a really pretty concealer. I just don't think it is the one for me. Power Fabric all the way. It's still going to be the one that I reach for. I just think it is absolutely beautiful. One more thing before I let you guys go. If you have enlarged pores, I have enlarged pores, and if you do, this might not be the concealer for you, because what I noticed was no matter what I did, no matter if I baked or if I just did it how I did in the demo today, it was just a little bit too much for my pores, and I ended up being able to see the texture, and my pores were just a lot more visible with this concealer. I mean, obviously something that's satin or matte is going to cover them much better. All right, you guys, that is it. Those are my experiences with this concealer. Let me know if you found this helpful, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.